What's going on, Cardinals fans? Welcome back into the Brenden Schaeffer St. Louis Cardinals Writer YouTube channel. And in this video, we're talking about some interesting news that just came across the wire over the past 24 hours or so. And it pertains to the Cardinals television broadcast. As for St. Louis Cardinals versus Chicago Cubs, we are going to once again see a Buck Caray booth for one night only, I presume. But maybe it's something that they'll do beyond that at some point. Who knows? But Friday, May 24th, Bally Sports Midwest, the announcement reads that it's going to be Chip Caray, which is pretty usual. He's the regular broadcaster for the Cardinals games on TV. But the interesting element of this is he will be pairing up with Joe Buck for that game on Friday, May the 24th. Joe Buck will call a local Cardinals telecast for the first time since 2007. And, of course, the connection there, Harry Caray, the grandfather of Chip Caray, and Jack Buck, the father of Joe Buck. They broadcast Cardinals games together in the 1950s and 60s, from about 1954 to 1969, with some breaks in between. But a legendary broadcast crew on KMOX radio, and now the lineage continuing on for a special event coming up in just a couple weeks, just over a week, in fact, next Friday. Not tomorrow as we record this on Thursday, May 16th, but the following Friday at Busch Stadium, a Buck Caray booth for a Cardinals game. Reading from the press release here, two legendary names in baseball broadcasting will reunite in the St. Louis Cardinals television booth Friday, May 24th, when Joe Buck joins Chip Caray to broadcast the Cardinals game against the Cubs on Bally Sports Midwest. Pregame coverage 6:30, first pitch 7:15. Caray, in his second season as a television voice of the Cardinals, of course, took over for Dan McLaughlin the beginning of the 2023 season. And Joe Buck, Cardinals fans know him. I think a lot of Cardinals fans do love Joe Buck. I know that Joe Buck is more of a maybe controversial figure in broadcasting when you talk about it on a national scale, but I think that's wrong. If you've heard me talk for any period of time about Joe Buck, I think he is one of the best to ever do it and has had a long run of success, obviously with Fox Sports when he was doing World Series games every fall with Tim McCarver, and then the football NFL Sunday, the big game on Fox every week, and doing Super Bowls with them. And of course, he's had the foray into golf and various other sports, but now is with ESPN, does Monday Night Football, and so we have not seen Joe Buck on baseball broadcasts in some number of years. And it's interesting because when he does podcasts and does interviews, and people say, "Do you miss baseball?" You can kind of tell that a little bit. I think he does. I think it's something that maybe he's still called to do on some level, and maybe someday would want to be more involved on the local level. That's the element of it that he said he's missed, which is something he hasn't done in a long time. Obviously, he used to be part of the Cardinals telecast locally here. Back in 2007 was the last year that he was part of that, according to this press release, and that seems about right from what I remember when I was a kid watching or listening. Obviously, he would be involved on KMOX back in the day as well. It's interesting because when you're a baseball broadcaster covering a local team, you feel like you're really a part of the action and you get to know the ins and outs of what's going on with the team, and you travel with the team. And that is a connection. And it's why, too, when you see the World Series games or the game of the week on Fox, and it's these national broadcasters who don't really have a feel for the pulse of what's going on with the team, it's why inherently they can't, right? They don't travel with the team all year. They don't know the ins and outs. And so that's why it doesn't matter if it's a Cardinals game being broadcast nationally or any other MLB team. You just aren't going to have the same feel with those broadcasters as the local guys would who know the ins and outs of what's going on. And so that's honestly the element that when I've heard Joe Buck talk on podcasts that he said that he's missed about doing baseball. Not necessarily the flying in once a week to do a game where he doesn't really isn't really locked in on the teams and players as much as he would like to be, but it's those local the road trips and the 162 grind. It's interesting because at this point in his career, he doesn't need to do anything like that. He is one of the biggest names in broadcasting and is a star with ESPN with Monday Night Football. But, man, I would wonder if in the twilight of his career at some point he would want to get back into the local scene. And there'd obviously be no better place for him to do that than St. Louis, than with the Cardinals, given his history and obviously his family's history with his dad being the legendary Jack Buck. But assuming I'm there at the ballpark, I will be having the the app pulled up and being able to listen to and take in the broadcast as well, because that's something I'm pretty excited for personally. It's just very interesting to see this come full circle for Joe Buck. Like for Cardinals fans of a certain generation, you're familiar with Joe Buck and his history with the Cardinals. Maybe younger fans only remember or are aware of his national work that he's done. But it was back in 1991 that Joe Buck began broadcasting for the Cardinals, doing some local TV, KMOX radio, filling in for his dad, Jack, who was working a national CBS telecast, right? Jack Buck was a Cardinals radio announcer, but also would do national games of the week, if I'm recalling this correctly. I'm not recalling this. I wasn't alive in 1991, but that was where Joe Buck sort of got his start locally. 1992, 93, he was doing University of Missouri basketball broadcasts. Like, this guy is as local as it gets, and he's a guy that I don't think has ever forgotten those roots, which, again, fans that only know Joe Buck from the national broadcast may not fully realize or appreciate that. And they may think, oh, he hates the Cardinals because I remember a time where he didn't, get excited enough about a Cardinal play that happened that was really good. That's not the way this works at all. It was just his role nationally. And I think you're going to hear it come out of his voice on the 24th here in about 8 days when he does this broadcast with Chip Caray. You're going to hear him talk about it. I'm sure he's going to bring it up and get an audience with local Cardinals fans to be able to kind of explain some of that, because he's had no problem talking about it in the different podcasts and things I've heard him do. So that's going to be fascinating. But I'm reading this from Wikipedia here. Buck continued to call Cardinals games after being hired by Fox Sports nationally. Again, initially with KMOX. Later, he was on the Fox Sports Midwest broadcast. They used to call Bally Sports Midwest, Fox Sports Midwest back in the days. And he continued to do more and more nationally. So before the 2008 season, that was when it was announced he would no longer be doing the local TV broadcasts for the Cardinals, which marked the first time since 1960 that a member of the Buck family was not part of the Cardinals broadcasting crew, either on television or radio, which is just an incredible legacy. And again, the only reason that it ceased was because Joe Buck was too good and too big to necessarily just spend his whole career doing local, which is, just a decision that he made. He saw the way his father was able to do a lot of national work and wanted that for himself, and decided that was the path for his career. But again, I think always that draw to the dynamic of the broadcaster's relationship to the local team when you're covering it on the local level, as Jack Buck did for so many years, and Joe Buck got more than a taste of being able to do back in his day. I think that draw has always been there. So I will be very, very excited to check this out. Cardinals fans, let me know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you going to be tuning in? Are you going to be excited for this two-man booth? And is it something that you'd maybe like to see more than just a one-off, right? Like, I don't know what the circumstances are travel schedule-wise, where, Joe Buck obviously is in the offseason for football and is not probably got as many obligations right now during baseball season when there is no NFL going on. But maybe this is something that down the road you could see him mixed in more if it's something that he wants. And knowing Chip Caray, I think that's something that Chip Caray would more than welcome. Chip Caray is not an ego guy. That's a good thing that you have about the Cardinals broadcasters. Chip Caray, John Rooney is the same way. You can recall John Rooney with the way that he for Danny Mac. Remember when it was the Albert Pujols 700 game in Los Angeles? That was an Apple TV game. And Danny Mac at the time had been the longtime Cardinal broadcaster. And John Rooney, gracious enough to say, hey, you are a part of this. Just because there's weird TV contracts now and we're going to put this on Apple TV and you're not going to get to do the game doesn't mean you can't be a part of this. You're going to be in our booth, KMOX, and he welcomed that. I think Chip Caray is the same way. You got two gracious dudes who get it and have an appreciation for the history of what this kind of thing means. And this is going to be a really cool thing on Friday, May the 24th. So let me know, Cardinals fans, once again, comment below what you think of this collaboration between Joe Buck and Chip Caray coming up in just over a week at Busch Stadium. That's going to be a fun one. That is going to be a very, very fun one. Stay tuned to this channel for more Cardinals news, baseball news in general. You can hit the subscribe button. It's in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and you'll be able to catch up with our Cardinals coverage all season long. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you stay tuned and join us next time. Turn the bell on for notifications. Appreciate you guys, as always, for watching, and we'll talk to you next time on the Brenden Schaeffer St. Louis Cardinals Writer channel. Peace.